Hi everyone, it's Johnny Steed here again. So yesterday morning was New Year's Day and there I was first thing in the morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and not at all hungover. And so I go onto YouTube and what do I see? Rob Walker with his 2023 vinyl tag video. And I was watching it and he mentioned in the video that making tag videos are a great way for people to get into YouTube, etc. And I thought, you're right Rob, and I haven't made a video since March and this is a great excuse to make another video, so here I am. And now I'm going to have to be honest, since the last time I made a video featuring any vinyl I've hardly bought anything. In fact I've bought 3 albums and 1 CD, so a bit thin on the ground for new pickups, so I'm going to have to fudge a few of these questions. But you know, who doesn't mind a bit of fudge now and again? So we're going to start off with question number 1, which is the album of the year, which I have 2, one of which I own and one of which I don't, and I've been listening to online. And the one that I own, and I know a lot of other people have already shown this already, and it's no surprise, it's the Wet Leg album. One of the greatest debut albums of all time, possibly, who knows. I'm sure you've all heard this album by now, and if you haven't, then yeah, go and give it a listen. They really took off over the summer, from the Isle of Wight, I think. But yeah, it's great to have a debut album from a band, an actual band who plays instruments and who can write great, catchy, poppy songs as well. And I think I Don't Want to Go Out. I think I Don't Want to Go Out. That's got one of the best chord changes on any album I've heard in a long, long time. So yeah, check out the Wet Leg album if you haven't already. And the one that I don't actually own at the minute, but I think is probably the one of my albums, the second album of the year, is the Deus Arachis album by Klaus Schulze. And the late great Klaus Schulze. We'll be speaking about him more in a moment. But yes, they're my 2 favourite albums of 2022. Right, next up, the last band I saw live. I haven't been to many gigs. I've kind of gone off gigs a bit, especially if they're big crowded places. So yeah, the last band I actually went to see, I've shown this before, this is Imperial Wax, and I saw them at the Ferret in Preston, which is just up the road. It's like a pub venue, nice and cosy, and this is their single I bought. Now, Imperial Wax are made up of former members of The Fall, with a new singer, and this is excellent. Check it out if you have not heard of Imperial Wax. I did have some tickets for gigs that got cancelled, or I was too ill. I couldn't go and see Half Man Half Biscuit because I was ill. What else did we have? The Doves, that got cancelled. Lord Huron got cancelled. I'm sure there's a couple more over the last couple of years which I was meant to go and see, but yeah. Okay, question number 3. Their first album was their best album. Right, possibly slightly controversial. I don't have this on vinyl, so you'll have to excuse this. I'm going with Oasis, Definitely Maybe. Now I know What's the Story has got some great tracks on it as well, but between the 2, this one doesn't have Wonderwall on it. So I'm going to go with Oasis, Definitely Maybe. It was pretty much all downhill from then on. Right, the hat trick, 3 formats of the same album. I struggled with this one. I could not find 3 of the same thing of everything. I went through my... I don't have any cassettes, that's the other thing. It was meant to be a record on vinyl, CD and cassette. I have the grand total of 0 albums on cassette, original ones anyway. I've got millions of cassettes. In fact, I think the only album I do have is this extremely ropey copy of Black Sabbath's Live at Last. I think it's a bootleg actually, and it's pretty much unplayable. So yeah, I couldn't do that for the 3 of a kind. So and I went through all my 12 inches and singles and CDs to see if I could match everything up. Completely failed. But what I do have are 3 copies of the classic Ronco Rock and Roller Disco album. Hope that counts. Alright, an album that starts and ends with the same letter. The title of it starts and ends with the same letter. I struggled with this one, couldn't really find many, but I did manage to locate one. And I believe John Bellamy sent me this a few years ago. Thank you, John. This is Sting, Nothing Like the Sun. There we have 2 ends. Alright. Number 6, Born the Same Year as Me. Okay, so I was born in 1970, vintage year, and so was the legendary Mandy Smith. No? Okay, how about Rivers Cuomo from Weezer? Okay, most listened to album. Right, okay, so 2022, my listening tastes changed quite a bit actually, especially in the last 6 months when my friends were sharing their end of year Spotify lists of the most played songs. And I don't have Spotify, I have YouTube Music, but I thought, oh, I'll have a look and see. And it turns out I've spent most of the year listening to ambient music, electronic music, and instrumental music. A bit of a shift. Oh, and quite a healthy spattering of vaporwave as well. Been going down that dark alley. So my most listened to album of the year is GeoGaddy by Boards of Canada. Okay, I don't own a copy of it, but I've been streaming it quite a lot. And similarly, my most listened to artists. I've put artists. I'm gonna give you a couple of them here. Boards of Canada, one of them. Harold Budd. Have you ever heard of Harold Budd? He does sort of like ambient piano kind of music, I guess you'd call it. Sort of Brian Eno-ish. I don't know if they've collaborated. He's done a good album with a guy called Robin Guthrie, who I believe is a guitar player. That's worth checking out as well. Boren and the Club of Gore. If you're after some late night, 3 AM sleazy jazz kind of music, then check out Boren and the Club of Gore. And also a producer called Macro Blank, who remixes stuff in a vaporwavy style. And Haircuts for Men, who is another producer artist. I believe that style of music called Barber Beats. This is a spin-off from Vaporwave. And if you want some extremes drone music, check out the Sleep Research Facility. Yeah, if you're looking for something that's kind of just gonna, send you off to sleep. Okay, so Australian artist. Didn't have many to choose from. Bit of an obvious one. Men at Work. Of course, this one has the classic Down Under on it. Bit of a sad story about Down Under. I didn't realise they ended up getting sued for plagiarism, and one of the members, the flautist, didn't really take it that well. So unfortunately, but yeah, a great album. This, if you've not heard it, pick it up. It's not just Down Under that's on it as well. There's Who Could It Be Now is on there as well, which is I think the single that they had out in the UK. All right, Men at Work. All right, a surprise pickup. All right, this is the one of the 3 albums which I picked up this year. The other one was Wet Leg. Possibly a bit of a surprise. Not a surprise if you knew me at school though. For £1, I found the Tapao album finally on vinyl. I think I got this on cassette back in the 80s. So yeah, nothing to do with the fact I had a schoolboy crush on Carol Decker or anything. A solid album, yeah. So I finally got Bridge of Spies after nearly 40 years, I guess. A complete discography, right. Again, I don't have many of these, or in fact I don't have any apart from a few artists that only ever released one album. The closest I could come is, you might not be surprised if you've seen any of my videos before, Led Zeppelin, of which I have all the albums on vinyl, with the exception of this one now, Presence. Need to get Presence on vinyl. So yeah, there we go. And finally Coda, which I believe I borrowed off my friend Clive back in the 90s, and I can give him back. Sorry Clive, if you're in the UK again, I've got your copy of Coda still. Right, a 3 great album run. I'm going with ELO and Eldorado, which they followed up with Face the Music, which they followed up with A New World Record. Right, number 13. Hope I'm not missing any of these out. Number 13, 80s soundtrack. I've got quite a bunch of 80s soundtracks, but I went with, because I've been listening to a lot of ambient music and electronic music this year, Tangerine Dream and their soundtrack to the film Firestarter from the early 80s. And this has got lush synths. It's very kind of atmospheric and ethereal, something you could put on and drift off and relax to. But if you're going to do that, I recommend that you skip the track Between Realities, because that's terrifying. Okay, an artist we lost in 22. I'm going to go with the great legendary producer of electronic music Klaus Schulze, and this is his album Transfer. Yes, so Deus Arrakis was his final album, which came out this year, and it's amazing. And this is one of his earlier ones. Pioneer, I guess you could call him, of electronic music. He was making ambient sort of sounds before Brian Eno came up with the term. Yeah, from Germany, Klaus Schulze. Rest in peace. A non-vinyl purchase. My one CD of the year is Super Furry Animals Radiator. I believe Rob showed this in his video. It's an absolute classic banger from the 90s. And I think that was a 50p purchase. Yeah, I've not been out much, so. 2023 New Year's resolutions to go out more. In short, things. Oh, I missed out number 15. Disappointing purchase. Well, I haven't got one. Look, I'm happy to say, out of the 4 things that I bought this year, which were music related, I've been quite happy with all of them. So, no disappointing purchases there. So that was number 15. Number 16 was the non-vinyl one. 17, a Grail. Okay, yeah, I've got a Grail of sorts. Not an original pressing, but easily one of my top 5 favourite albums. Very close to the top. OK Computer by Radiohead. Finally managed to get this on vinyl. Okay, a space theme. Journey into Space. This is a vinyl recording of the radio broadcast from the a souvenir recording of Colonel John Glenn's historic flight on the 20th of February 1962. So, was that the first man in space? No, that was Yuri Gagarin, wasn't it? Was that the first American in space? Officially, anyway. So, yeah. Journey into Space. Right, VLC or a present. Well, I've not been making videos, so I've not received any VLC. And the last present I got, which was music related, I think I've shown it, but I'm going to show it again because it's a corker. Very generous gift from my good friend Paul, and that is The Band album. Thank you, Paul. Right, and finally, an album from 1973, which is turning 50 this year. Could have picked a couple, Goat's Head Soup, but I've gone with Renaissance and Ashes Are Burning. If you like a bit of prog, female singer, check out the band Renaissance. The actual song itself, Ashes Are Burning, is epic. It's quite a long one, and it's very good. Okay, so that was my vinyl tag list. Massive thanks to Rob for putting this out and for inspiring me to get behind the camera again, literally dusting off the camera. It's not been used in a while. And hopefully I'll see you again soon. Maybe. Take care. Bye and Happy New Year.